I'm Andy Katz here in our March Madness bunker, taking a look at my top 16 candidates for National Player of the Year. Let's start with Marcus Howard from Marquette. He's already got a 53-point outing, that was over Creighton, and two 45-point outings, one against Buffalo and one against Kansas State. Right now, he is the favorite for Big East Player of the Year. Zion Williamson of Duke clearly is appointment television to watch him play in the way he can dunk, the way he's a physical specimen, and there's no question he puts up great numbers. He will be in the conversation for National Player of the Year. And so will his teammate, R.J. Barrett. They could go 1-2 in some order in the NBA draft, and they also both could be first-team All-Americans. Cassius Winston, right now, he is the Big Ten Player of the Year. Think about what he's done for the Spartans, leading them to road wins over Ohio State and Nebraska without Joshua Langford, who's one of their better scorers, and he's been out with a foot injury. Winston has stepped up and performed at a high level for Tom Izzo. Shamorie Ponds from St. John's. How important is he to the Red Storm? Well, when he didn't play, they lost at home to DePaul. If St. John's, or rather when St. John's gets in the NCAA tournament, it will be because of Ponds. Grant Williams, he was the SEC Player of the Year last season. He has once again put together a solid year for the Vols, and the reason that Tennessee is likely going to be a #1 seed. But it's not just because of Grant Williams. They also have another National Player of the Year candidate in Admiral Schofield. Schofield hit maybe the biggest shot of the season when he hit a three to beat Gonzaga in Phoenix, and at the time Gonzaga was #1 and previously undefeated. Dedrick Lawson. Well, in the summer, Bill Self, the head coach of Kansas, told me he not only could be the Big 12 Player of the Year, but also the National Player of the Year. And think about Lawson's importance since transferring to Memphis. Now, he sat out last season, and he learned a lot about the Kansas system. But now that Udoka Azubuike is done for the season, even more responsibility is on Lawson, and he is answering every call. Rui Hachimura. Right now, Hachimura is the leader of a Gonzaga team that could be a #1 seed, could win the national championship. He has developed into a star, potential NBA All-Star at some point, certainly a high draft pick, but also possibly the National Player of the Year coming out of Gonzaga. Caleb Martin, you could go different directions on Nevada about who's most important. His twin brother Cody, certainly Jordan Caroline, but Caleb Martin certainly is the player that Nevada looks to maybe the most, and another key reason as to why the Wolfpack could be as high as a 2 seed in the NCAA tournament. Kyle Guy from Virginia. Sometimes it's kind of hard to pick one Virginia player because they play so well defensively, and you could go with Ty Jerome or DeAndre Hunter, but Kyle Guy seems to be maybe the most consistent player all around. He's worked his tail off to get to this position, and he is in the conversation for National Player of the Year. Ethan Happ from Wisconsin. He's going to be in competition for Big Ten Player of the Year. He's putting up crazy numbers for the Badgers. Now, they struggled a little of late, and his free throw shooting needs to improve, but he's going to be right there to potentially be a first-team All-American. Carson Edwards was my preseason pick for National Player of the Year, and he had to shoulder a lot of the load scoring and doing a little bit of everything for Purdue. Now, struggled at times earlier in the season on turnovers, but once they got into the Big Ten, certainly at home and then in that huge road win at Wisconsin, Edwards has stepped up and played like a National Player of the Year, not just a potential Big Ten Player of the Year. Jarrett Culver from Texas Tech. I think a lot of us, including myself, kind of thought Texas Tech may take a slide back after what happened last season where they had that great run under Chris Beard. But Jarrett Culver has turned out to be a star in Lubbock in the Big 12, and he deserves to be on this list as one of the top candidates for National Player of the Year. Romeo Langford in this freshman class initially got kind of overshadowed by the two guys at Duke in Zion Williamson and R.J. Barrett. But Langford, along with his teammate Juwan Morgan, but Langford's putting up great numbers, and one of the key reasons that Indiana is going to be in the NCAA tournament and still has a great chance to be in that upper half of the Big Ten. And I wouldn't say this is number 16, but it's the 16th player I want to mention. It is Ja Morant from Murray State. Just check out his highlights. He's certainly electrifying. He's putting up great numbers. He's a great playmaker. He may end up being a top 5 NBA draft pick. And if Murray State can win the OVC and get into the NCAA tournament, you're going to hear a lot about Morant in March.